has the higher seat, so he has the option to play first, which I imagine he will take. And welcome to the finals here from Houston. Temple of Vanna will kick things off. Top card goes to the bottom. We'll head Stevens' way. Stevens to the Temple of Triumph. Take a look at the top card. It will stay on top. We go back to Berni's way. He has a Sylvan Caryatid for his second turn, so we go back to Todd. Todd will play a mountain, kick it back. And Berni's going to put Stevens to the test right away with a Pelucranos.
Womp womp. I mean, game one, this card's very challenging to beat. I do appreciate Todd's effort here to get some old school foils. You're going to go get a foil Raise the Alarm? Go get the Mirrodin one. Big fan.
You like that, huh?
I do. I don't like foils in general, but at least there's effort here.
That's the Raise the Alarm picture that I approve of. It's the one I grew up on.
Right. For us, there's some real nostalgia value.
Absolutely. Here's a Hordling Outburst. Here come 3 Goblin tokens to get flattened by Pelucranos. Pelucranos is real tough for this deck, and Pelucranos has been gone for so long.
Yep. I mean, in the Abzan Sultai field, it doesn't really do a ton.
That's true.
That's a big part of the reason. It's just a thing that dies. And this attack from Todd...
I love it.
Well,
oof.
I do like it from the perspective of, you know, if Robert blocks and you stoke the flames, the Pelucranos, you're out from under it. The problem is it completely gives away that stoke the flames in your hand. Now, if this is a bluff, it's insane. But if he's playing straight up, you're giving Robert a lot of information to work with.
Anytime I can get a small creature into a big creature while I'm tapped out, I love it. That's why I like limited Magic.
If Todd does not have Stoke the Flames in his hand, that is a great play.
If he doesn't Stoke the Flames, he's already won the match.
Right.
You get that point of damage, it doesn't even matter if he wins anymore. I got you.
Robert wins 2-0.
Yep.
We have our sideboard interview with Todd Stevens ready to go.
Todd, tell me about that attack. That's what we'd have to have done. Nick Miller, Robert, you're gonna have to wait.
Right.
We need to have Todd in here. We're looking for the Stoke in hand now.
Yeah, I want to know.
Yep. Got some lightning strikes over there. I think he may have a Stoke.
And hey, that's information for viewers at home.
Yeah.
That same board you're going to be able to get through with that soldier 100 times out of 100.
Yeah. Ilana Blossom's going to bite the dust thanks to a lightning strike.
Attack with 2.
Get him again.
2 of them. Yeah.
Just a simple block with a Sylvan Caryatid.
Right.
See what Berni can put together on this turn. Pelucranos a bit of a coward here.
Yep. No attacking, no blocking with my 5/5. Doesn't want to mix it up just yet.
There's Nidalon. Trigger and draw. Pelucranos was the draw.
And I wonder if drawing Pelucranos will now make Robert inclined to block and get the Stoke out of the way.
I have a feeling it will. Looks like Stevens may have drawn a copy of the Grandmaster.
One copy in his list, cutting a seeker away, essentially. I don't mind that swap. I don't mind one copy of Soulfire Grandmaster.
If nothing else, if you're trying to find out if the card's good or not, too.
Right. Well, the diminishing returns on that card is so pronounced that I think once you're past the first copy, it's really questionable.
You certainly don't want to draw multiples. Here's 3 mana, Hordling Outburst. 3 more goblins here for Stevens. And he'll just pass the turn back. We're going to go Berni's way. Let's see what Robert can put together now. Oh, Pelucranos feeling it now. Soldier token's going to block and quietly leave.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Nylon of Blossoms. Are 2 cards okay? Looks like a Stoke the Flames. Finally going to take care of Pelucranos. 2 cards coming here for Berni. There's a Temple, top card.
Modern players, we have your
Berni going to give it some thought.
So now that we know Todd was playing it straight up, we at least know now that that's a spot where you can bluff a ton.
Oh, yeah. Can't get enough.
Yeah. That was a really informative set of terms there for you tokens players out there.
Scott Gill, Matthew Peacock, David Bruno, and in 8th place, Adam Yetter. People on who have made top.
Well, we're going to head back Todd Stevens' way now. He's got 3 lands in play, 7 tokens out there.
Have it over at the stage.
There's a 4th land. It's a mountain. It's time for Soulfire Grandmaster. It's time for a lightning strike with lifelink. Let's see if tokens come to the red zone here.
I think he's got to make a push here. The only possible incentive to hold back at this point is if he has Ascendancy in hand and has a turn set up, but given his play so far, it doesn't really seem to indicate that.
Got some damage come across.
And Robert's certainly not attacking productively on the way back, so might as well attack.
Time for Berni to draw. It is a forest that'll come into play. That's land number 6. And here's Whisperwood Elemental number 1. Followed up with a Voyaging Satyr. You got a manifest creature coming too in just a moment, assuming that Berni doesn't remember the trigger, which he will. And now he's gummed up the board pretty nicely. Stevens will untap.
So this is kind of the spot where the Ascendancy deck needs to move into the next phase, which involves either Treasure Cruise and then ideally Jeskai Ascendancy itself, because the board's going to get really clogged up. Robert's at a pretty high life total, so burning him out is going to be challenging.
Stevens wants more tokens, so he'll play a Monastery Mentor. Berni going to take a look. 4 of those in Stevens' deck this weekend. No Goblin Rabble Masters here.
And in this spot, Monastery Mentor is so much more powerful because having to attack with these Goblin tokens, you know, Robert's got a pretty solid defense set up here.
There's Nidalon.
But Todd can, in theory, generate a sizable set of tokens here, maybe push through the defenses. It's going to be hard to do, but Rabble Master wouldn't have a shot.
So Berni's getting deeper in his deck. He's drawn all 4 Eidolons this game. The only thing he's missing from the equation is a copy of Nykthos. Hasn't found one yet. Here's a Courser. Maybe that'll help. This will trigger Eidolon twice. Show these cards. Forest is 1. Ugin is 2. Nick, oh boy.
Pretty tough set of cards here for Todd to see.
Courser did a pretty good job. There's Nykthos, trigger and gain a life. Take a look at the top card here. It's a Voyaging Satyr. There's a Voyaging Satyr that's going to come into play. So 1 on top of the deck, 1 enters the battlefield. And Berni is going to manifest the ones on top of his deck. We'll see a new card on the top here for his draw step next turn, which is a copy of Courser of Crewfix. And Todd Stevens better have one heck of a turn. Because Robert Berni is about to go off.
And you have 8 eligible creatures on Todd's side of the table against 7 blockers on Robert's. So even with Ascendancy, you would need to have some crazy turn to be able to do something, and Todd's just going to give it up.
He knows that he is beaten. He will concede the game immediately. Robert Berni is going to win game number 1 here over Todd Stevens. Green Red Devotion up a game over Jeskai Tokens. As we take a look at the sideboards, we will start with Stevens. He's got 4 Disdainful Stroke, 2 Erase and Negate, 2 Valorous Stance, 3 Anger of the Gods, and then Hostilities, and 2 copies of Glare of Heresy.
This is going to be a pretty standard control deck swap here for the tokens deck, where you see End Hostilities, the 3 copy of Anger of the Gods, the 4 Disdainful Strokes, and the 2 copies of Valorous Stance coming as well to be able to handle Robert's big creatures that Todd really can't kill straight up game 1. He's got to work around. So he needs to have a little bit more play against those, lean on things like Ascendancy and Treasure Cruise to give him a powerful late game.
2 Arbor Colossus, 2 Genesis Hydra, 3 Nylea's Disciple, 2 Reclamation Sage, 2 Cetessan Tactics, a Xenagos, and 3 Nissa Worldwaker.
So I think the 2 copies of Reclamation Sage are going to come in here because Robert wants to fight over Ascendancy. I think that Monastery Mentor is a problematic card for Robert in the matchup, and you may see him bring in Cetessan Tactics here where he may not do that against some of the other builds of Jeskai Tokens. On top of that, the 2 Arbor Colossus is just another big thing that's hard for Todd to kill. Might see that coming as well. The 3 copies of Nissa and Xenagos also give a little bit of play in the event that Todd's going super controlling and bringing in all of his sweepers.
Game number 2 going to be underway here in just a moment. Of course, the Open Series will be in Los Angeles next week, Baltimore after that, and then Grand Prix Miami.
On March 6th through 8th, StarCityGames.com presents Grand Prix Miami. This standard event featuring Fate Reforged will be held in the heart of world-famous South Beach, and that's just one part of a great lineup of special guests and events. So much fun, you'll want to send a postcard to all your friends. Let's start with the swag. The beautiful beaches of Miami are well known, and Grand Prix Miami participants will get to commemorate their experience with an exclusive playmat featuring the sand surfer of Fate Reforged himself, Mardu Scout. The Mardu Scout playmat, promo foil Gristle brand, free 8-player on-demand side event voucher, 1-month StarCityGames.com premium voucher, and 10 SCG prize wall tickets where you can pick your prize and get the cool stuff you really want are all guaranteed for everyone just for playing in Grand Prix Miami. And thanks to StarCityGames.com's Show Up and Play pre-registration, you won't have to stand in a check-in line to get your rewards. Miami's known for catering to VIPs, and so are we. VIPs at Grand Prix Miami get an exclusive collectible pin featuring Mardu Scout, an SCG water bottle, a VIP badge and lanyard, 40 additional SCG prize wall tickets, plus a copy of the out-of-print 2013 Grand Prix Miami playmat illustrated by fan favorite Liz Nugent. VIPs also enjoy the perks they've come to expect, including access to the VIP area, water stations, private pairings boards, and, by popular demand, preferred tournament seating. Not a VIP, but still want to get your hands on one of those sweet Mardu Scout pins? You'll have 2 shots to do so. On Friday, play in one of the 3 $20 sealed spectaculars, where for just $20 you get a Mardu Scout pin, 6 boosters to build your deck, and a chance to win tons of additional prizes. On Sunday, the Super Sunday Series offers every participant a Mardu Scout pin, a chance to win loads of additional prizes, and for the champion, an all-expense-paid trip to Wizards of the Coast headquarters to play in the $20,000 Super Sunday Series Championship. On Friday evening, Brian Bronduin and Chris Van Meter will take the popular Versus video series live, battling with some of the most popular standard decks. Come cheer on your favorite in person or tune into SCGLive to watch the action as it unfolds. No Grand Prix is complete without artists, and Grand Prix Miami is thrilled to welcome RK Post, Jeff Miracola, John Stanko, Jason A. Engel, plus special guest and illustrator of Mardu Scout, Zoltan Boros. We're also excited to announce our Grand Prix Miami guest of honor. Joining us all the way from France, Alexi Bricklot. Alexi is the illustrator of 8 Planeswalkers, including the original Lorwyn 5, along with dozens of other incredible works, and we are thrilled to have him join us in Miami for a rare stateside appearance. Can't make it to Grand Prix Miami? Join Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, and the rest of the SCGLive crew for live coverage of the entire event from start to finish, beginning on Saturday morning. On March 6th through 8th, StarCityGames.com presents Grand Prix Miami, a standard event you won't want to miss. Visit StarCityGames.com/GP Miami for more info, and we'll see you there.
You think Reed Duke will defend the title?
I think he'll show up. I mean, back-to-back Grand Prix wins at the same location, that's really hard to do.
That's pretty tough, yeah. Maybe it's a tough thing to ask him to do, but if anybody's capable.
The Duke is the Duke.
Yeah. Fantastic time last time we were in Miami watching Duke battle against Josh McClain in the finals. Actually, a match I'll never forget. It was really back and forth.
Yep. You know, I don't recall that many Grand Prix with that many people on the rails, you know?
Yeah. That was one of the more awesome sights to see during the tournament. Just watching Reed, who everybody knows, and McClain really starting to make a name for himself based off of that tournament and as a result of the Grand Prix in Detroit as well.
Right.
Solidifying himself as a big name in the Magic community. Stevens with a couple of lands to start things off. Mystic Monastery and Temple of Epiphany. You got a temple on Berni's side as well as a forest, now Sylvan Carry added. So again, Berni needs to be wary of Anger of the Gods as well as and hostilities. Those are cards that Stevens has access to. And he's going to sideboard into a control deck. We know that. 4 mana, Ilana Blossoms. Disdainful Stroke says absolutely not.
And I don't mind that as a test spell there for Robert's side because it's the type of threat that gets swept up by Anger of the Gods. So if it gets countered by Disdainful Stroke, Robert isn't even that upset. It's one of those spots where if it resolves, great, and if it doesn't resolve, that's fine too.
See, Todd is playing a much different game this go around. Hasn't done anything over the first couple of turns. Just been reactive, nothing proactive here.
Sure. But that's going to be common of Todd's setup post-board here. It wouldn't surprise me if he cut some of the smaller creatures, some of his early plays, because it's trivial for Robert to block them, and they don't synergize very well with Anger of the Gods and end hostilities and so forth.
Flood Strand gets sacrificed. It's time to go hunting. And we will see what happens here in just a moment on Todd Stevens' side of the table. He'll just take a draw step, no end to turn effects. Valor Stance is what he's picked up. Land number 5 is a Shivan Reef. There's a Hordling Outburst. 3 Goblins. Kick it back Berni's way. Berni will take a draw step.
And I think you're going to see this sort of take for tat. As the more that Todd commits to the board, the more you're going to see Robert willing to do the same, because it takes some of the sting out of Anger of the Gods and End Hostilities. Robert definitely wants to pace his threats against Todd sweepers as much as possible, but when Todd commits a card, you're going to see Robert a lot more inclined to commit a card of his own.
Whisperwood Elemental. Does it resolve? Well, it does, but before we get to the trigger, how about a Stoke the Flames? So that problem's solved. We'll go back Stevens' way. 5 lands, 3 goblins, a couple cards in hand. Draw step with the Temple of Epiphany, so he'll put that into play. Take a look at the top card. It's going to the bottom. It's time to attack. Carry out, it'll block 1 goblin token, 2 damage to get through. Berni down to 18.
And when Todd sideboards into this much more controlling package, it also makes his copies of Treasure Cruise so much more powerful, because he's going to be filling up his graveyard, with these reactive cards. It's going to be hard for Robert to just curve out and play as aggressively as possible, because he has to worry about the sweepers. And so as these games get drawn out, Treasure Cruise becomes such a powerful draw for Todd.
Certainly turns into a Jeskai control deck after sideboard.
There's still some elements of the beatdown. Todd is applying a little bit of pressure, but like I said before, it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of the creatures got cut here. At least the Soulfire Grandmaster and the Seeker of the Waves.
Genesis Hydra is going to be for 5. Now keep in mind, you can't counter this part of it. This just puts something directly into play. So this is going to come directly into play. Now the Hydra part, well, you can't counter that. And Todd will. So bye-bye Genesis Hydra. Of course, this is going to go up to 4. That's the only way it can go. The question is it untapping 4 forest, or is it making a 4/4 land? Looks like it's just going to make a land.
Ladies and gentlemen, I need David Bruno to make
I would assume that if he's doing this, he has no follow-up play to make with the forest he would be untapping. And all the burn spells kill Nissa the same, whether or not it's 4 or 5, because of the 3 goblin tokens.
And Lightning Strike will help aid in getting the job done here for Stevens on the Nissa. And he'll come there. These 2 will be going straight at Berni. So the Genesis Hydra problem has been solved, along with what it brought. Mountain the draw step here for Berni. Mountain will come into play. Does he have something else big to do?
And Todd, I think with Anger of the Gods in hand, and this is a matchup where he's probably not happy with the 3-1 split of Anger versus End Hostilities. As we're now entering a stage of the game where Robert is probably not going to have to play very much into Anger of the Gods. It's just the 1 End Hostilities he has to worry about.
4 damage is going to come across. Perhaps it's time for another Hydra. Yes, sir. This will be for 5. Let's see what he finds. Pelucranos. This is exactly what you talked about with Anger.
Right. I mean, we passed the point now where it really matters, and Todd drawing very slim just to the 1 copy of End Hostilities.
What this deck has shown, deck, these green cards, they're back on the map. Pelucranos, Genesis Hydra, Nissa, they're all really good.
Yep. Also, what we're seeing here is that the Jeskai tokens never gets to really sideboard into a full control deck unless it's making a lot of concessions in the sideboard. Yes, you still have your copies of Anger of the Gods and End Hostilities, but they're being paired with Hordling Outbursts. It's not the smoothest deck. You're hoping for the right half of your deck to show up at the right time, and then the other half to show up at the other time.
Just the passing of the turn now. Take a draw. Ilana Blossoms, what's Berni's picked up.
And how much is that 1 copy of End Hostilities looming on Robert's mind like right now? How much is that forcing his play? Is he playing really around anything else at this point? I think there's a good chance the answer is no.
I think so.
Valorous Stance is another consideration. something that makes him maybe wary of spending his turn, dumping all of his mana into Polukranos, but he certainly has enough heft left over, even if he spends his turn that way. And his life total is high enough where he may not worry too much about that. He may say, try to clear out your tokens. If my Polukranos is hit with Valorous Stance in response, that's fine. I still have a 5/5 and a 4/4 Trampler against your 3/1/1s.
There is Valorous Stance. I'll take care of Polukranos. But plenty of good attacks available, as we see right now.
Yeah, I think this is exactly, you know, what Robert was playing for, is get the Valorous Stance out of the hand if it's there. Also, if he's going to use a Valorous Stance in that spot, it takes a little bit of the sting out in the event that Todd does find his 1-copy Event Hostilities. And Todd's just in a spot now where he's chump blocking the 5/5 and taking 4 a turn. So Robert's not really that concerned about spending his turn that way.
In come the big idiots again. Same block as last time. 4 damage will come across. Evens down to 7. Here's Nylon of Blossoms. Kind of a perfect measured threat in this situation.
Exactly. If it gets countered, that's fine. If it resolves that, that's fine. If it gets swept away, that's fine. If it stays in play, that's fine.
Yeah.
A real good hedge.
Ugin the draw off of the Eidolon. All of that's fine stuff doesn't apply to Ugin.
No.
Probably don't want
Hopefully we get that one to resolve, but
Stevens is on the hunt for that in hostilities. He's got a Hurtling Outburst in his hand.
Todd has not been playing like a man who's been holding Disdainful Stroke the whole time.
No,
so,
he hasn't.
I think Robert will keep the Ugin in hand as backup here, but I think that there's a very good chance it would resolve, and if you asked Robert if he cast it, if he thought it would resolve, I think he would tell you yes.
There's a Forest. Here's a Nykthos activation. 5 green mana. Let's make it 8. How about Ugin?
Yeah, I just don't think he buys the Disdainful Stroke is in Todd's hand.
He shows the hand, and that is going to do it. He's from Austin. We're in Houston. But for everyone who's played against him, it's been a weekend at Berni's. Robert Berni, our Standard Open champion here in Houston, Texas.
Our last undefeated player, first place at the end of day 1, was at the top or near the top of the day 2 standings the entire time and ran through this top 8 very quickly. I mean, his match against Tannen was very close, but his semifinals and finals